Much love and many blessings. Moving on to the sign of Scorpio, our watery, fixed sign of emotional, passion, and intensity. House of the 8th house, which is a lot of things: sex, death, and rebirth in a nutshell. So you can think transaction, transformation, exchanges, sex magic, liberation through sexual transactions. All those things are things done in secret or just the layers beneath. So it's a lot of different energies, because this is where also the renewal or transformation energy resides as well. So with the Pisces season, my Scorpios, our fellow Scorpios, we're definitely walking into a new emotional depth, or at least an expansion of our emotional waters, because this is a purging taking place. It's an emotional balance. Emotional balance has come up, I believe, 3 times across all of the signs. So this Pisces season is definitely just having an emotional washover across all of the signs, as you can see, and it's hitting some definitely more than others, especially depending on the weights that are being carried. Not to mention that the end of this month ends with a full moon in Virgo, so there's a lot of momentum building to want to be productive, especially since Mars is in Taurus. So there's definitely this need to want to make use of energy and be productive, especially since we're coming out of this Mercury retrograde, where it seemed like things were getting going slow, and connections and signals, including energy across the board, were just not really reaching their intended aim. So with all of that in a nutshell, definitely channeling spirit message for the Pisces message for the season. 2 messages actually flopped out. Emotional balance coming up again, along with the sacral chakra. So that's definitely our intimacy center, our pleasure center, the area where our sexuality and sensuality resides, and how we exchange our energy for that which we desire. Also, the Sanskrit words representing the sacral chakra could literally translate to roughly saying creating something from nothing. So this is also dealing with our manifestation and how what we're creating, what energy we're using to manifest and create the desires and emotions of our heart, because sacral chakra is also where emotions reside as well. So how we feel, if we're being honest about how we feel and what it is that we desire in the situations. With the 8 of Swords also coming out as a message during this time for my Scorpios, the 8 of Swords is also representing that being in a space where you may feel confined, or just not in a favorable space, making do or feeling cut off from something that you actually desire. This feeling can really come from a space just because it's very mental, which is why the 8 of Swords is air. It's the air element, and 8 is a number of burden or just a lot of resistance. It's a lot of built up energy. So because we're dealing with mental or logical energy, when we have a lot of built up energy, it usually can mean restrictions, or something is imposed that feels like it's confining me. I'm not able to see the situation clearly or the way I would like to, and it doesn't feel as if I can really navigate or move the way I want. But the thing about the 8 of Swords is a lot of times that the energy that you're feeling may feel as if you're locked in place, but you actually, with not even sometimes a lot of effort, sometimes it's just as simple as changing a mindset, can actually get out of your situation. You might actually be able to leave this home that you are created. You may have told yourself this has to be your home, but there's nothing blocking you. The space is open. You could really go where you want, or even go to the images, the spaces that you see within the distance. Nothing's actually stopping you other than your own hindrance, or maybe even having to deal with the fact that you might have to uproot some blockages that are holding you in place in order to actually navigate to where you want. So with this Pisces season, emotional balance coming up as a theme again, if we're dealing with sacral anatomy, or not sacral, but our chakra anatomy center, we're really dealing with energy that rises up. So the sacral chakra is our sexual energy center. This is where our energy flow is. This area of within ourselves responds to water and fluid. So we're talking about blood flow and blood pressure. If you've been dealing with things where you haven't been having a lot of fluidity, my Scorpios have been dealing with a lot of pent up weights, a lot of consideration, a lot of just juggling, really scared and cautious that your next actions might somehow lock you into some type of long going destiny. The Aquarius season had you just kind of on a pause because you were trying to make sure that what you were getting yourself into really made sense for what it is that you wanted to do, because you had to make peace with it. You would have to harmonize with it in order to you'd have to be okay with it. And that was a heavy thing for you. You've been dealing with a lot of burdens. You've been dealing with a lot of situations, which is evidenced by the Eight of Swords, in which you felt like you are looking at your desires of your heart or the thing that you want, and you're just simply blocked from it. That you can't get that, or something, or some type of limitation. There's some type of hindrance that keeps you from the goals or the achievements that you could really put out for yourself. So with this Pisces energy and expanding on these emotional waters, as we pretty much wrap up the Mercury retrograde, I mean, while it's over, there's still always a shadow period, so things are going to start speeding back up, but there's still a little drag, a little stagnation. There's this wanting to see what it is that's dropped off, or how we can essentially purge or release from our deeper waters, from our psyche, kind of the pollution and things that have cause instability within our heart. There's been some issues with trust and betrayal. There's been some issues with acceptance and letting go of current situations that are at this present moment. Or let me rephrase that. The acceptance of the present moment predicated off of things leading up to the past that have shaped these actions. You may feel as if you have only made decisions in your head and maybe not have handled situations the way you wanted to. And now relationships and connections and your environment is manifested in a way that's not tasteful to you, or it's not desirable to you. Which is why we're seeing the sacral chakra. This is a reflection. The sacral chakra is an area of purity. So as energy resonates up, because we deposit a lot of toxic sludge, guilt, and shame in the sacral chakra, it doesn't allow us to manifest our purest intent. You may feel a sensation within yourself and to say that, no, I don't enjoy that because society says that there's an issue with that. So you may not be balancing the reality of what you authentically like with what the external projections and the people and the perceptions, family dynamics, social group, and with this Pisces season, who you're integrated with, the interconnectedness. And you may not be honoring yourself as much as you're honoring these other needs. You may be putting yourself on the back burner because of the emotional weight or the traumas that have come from the past in which you try to integrate or harmonize or make peace with what it is that you truly desire within your heart. So with the wisdom of Yuko Onna coming up, that is a stillness, as the Japanese goddess, of pretty much finding the beauty. There's a lot of beauty and appreciation coming from pausing. A lot of this Pisces season energy is, while the Pisces is all about flow, this particular flow has been urging a lot of my signs, a lot of you, and a lot of us during the collective season to actually flow at a slower pace. Usually when we think flow, we may think moving at a rapid pace or having things get going again. But there's a suggestion here that a lot of the flow in the Pisces season is asking you to flow at a pace that is beautiful, or flow at a pace that allows you to appreciate what's going on around you. And the fact that stillness is here is speaking to the fact that, hey, wait a minute, maybe you need to emotionally slow down. You may be not doing a lot in the physical. There may be a lot of brooding and contemplative thoughts, deep contemplative inner thoughts. That's the natural resting place. But you may not necessarily, the desires of your heart are on the forefront of your vision and on your mind, and that's what you need to lock yourself onto. If we're going to take a pause, if we could take the perfect capture of the perfect moment, we want a freeze frame right at the moment. Like back when you could pause and skip frames on the VHS back in the day, and you could just pause it at the silliest moments and catch things that you hadn't seen. But in this instance, in the spiritual sense, you're pausing right at the perfect moment of Aishiteru, or love, right when your spirit is like, okay, let's lock on to the love, let's lock on to the balance, let's lock on to the purest form of the desire that we want, past the layers of the conscious, past the layers of society that have made you forget your power, past the layers where you forgot your inner child and the depth that you used to have with your creative force, past all those layers, past the Eight of Swords, past all of that, back to the essence, back to the purity. What is the purity? Where's that connection? What do you find in that stillness? The Japanese goddess of winter, Yuki Onna, calls you the practice of daily meditation and stillness to prepare you for a greater productivity and results. Being open and receptive, slowing down and allowing for time to dream activates your partnership with the universe so you can truly set your intentions into motion. And some of you, especially with the onset of the Mercury retrograde coming, Mercury going back direct, you're going to tend to have more vivid dreams. So there's definitely confirmation of that as well. Most without effort, you discover that your vibrations match the world of form. Just as the life force quietly builds within a seed buried under the snow, so too will the energy build in the seed of your desire before manifesting with no effort on your part. You will find how easy it is to co-create while implementing a practice of stillness and receptivity. Let others make the first move at this time as you assess and observe the world around you from a profound position of stillness and neutrality. In this way, the world becomes more intimate. So this is about the intimate connection. So this is confirmation of the sacral chakra about intimacy. You need to take that pause, and you don't need to move until your heart, until your subconscious self resonates at the frequency of the mirror of the beauty that balances with your heart chakra, that balances with your emotional heart, that balances with your subconscious self, that balances with your authentic self. So there are some days when you wake up frozen and stuck and unable to move due to the effects of emotional denial and resistance to what is in front of you. Or maybe you have exhausted, spent from emotional burden of your current situation. The winter goddess Yuki Onna has come to help you move out of the past, this experience, into a healthier state of stillness. When you are frozen, it's the ego that is refusing to accept life on life's terms, potentially causing you to fear and have depression. A particular situation or person may be causing you to see yourself as a victim. The goddess Yuki Onna reminds you that this is but a temporary moment in the millions of moments in your life. The task she has for you is to answer one question. Will you trust the great goddess in the universe to be your active partner in co-creating? If so, slow down and let all of your troubles go, and you will see the miracles of life has to offer you. So this is also about letting your comfort bubble go, letting your ego bubble go. What I see with this Eight of Swords, what Spirit says with this as well, is that you're holding on to your identity, you're holding on to your ego traumas because they help you to see who you are. You identify with them so much that it gives you something to talk about. But you may be sticking to the same narrative in front of you, maybe even looking at these swords as reflections and mirrors to remind you of your identity. It's time for you to let these things go because it's telling an old story. It's time to move on into the things that you truly desire. The things that you see off in the horizons of your peripheral. The things that look positive that still cast the sunlight on them. To manifest something from nothing and be honest about the purity of the things that you desire so that you can harmonize and make peace with those things. Make peace with those things that you find in that stillness in the space that you're in. And as you're moving through this Pisces season, as you take your divine breath, let stillness resonate within your heart space, within your subconscious self. And then feel where this Pisces energy, where this Neptune energy, where the currents flow, where the spiritual currents flow, and what dimensions that they take you to. These spaces are resonating within your heart, and they're the authentic places in which you truly desire to be and go. Honor those spaces and say and appreciate the thankfulness within your divine self. Much love and many blessings, and Ashe.